So, we're in the bunker, and in this video I'm going to be showing you 3 bunker shots that you absolutely need to learn. This first one, I call it level 1. You're in the bunker, what is your first job? It's to get the ball out. This is how you do it. So, there'll be many of you watching this who just struggle to get out. You know, you leave it in the bunker or you fear the bunkers. If that's you, pay attention to this first one. So I've got myself the club that I use at the bunkers. I would advise you getting something which is specifically designed for bunker play. That means it's going to be high bounce. This one here you can see is 12 degrees. That makes it a lot easier. So especially this wedge with high bounce, you're going to make this shot certainly feel more playable. So we're going to take a relatively wide stance. You know, certainly wider than I would probably play any other short game shot. And you notice that I've got the ball forward of centre, probably around about 2/3 forward, closer to my lead foot. From there, I'm going to flare both of my feet out, and I'm going to take my knees and my hips, and I'm going to put a little bit more weight on my lead side. Probably 60–65%, something like that, but I'm doing it through my midsection as opposed to kind of leaning with my upper body. So 60–65% of weight into my lead side. Now in terms of alignment, I really don't want you to think too much. I'm aiming pretty much straight at that flag. I've not opened my stance, I've not opened my shoulders, I've not done anything particularly strange, just a normal setup. And I also want you to take a normal grip with a perfectly square club face. Remember, this is level 1 and we are using a golf club, hopefully, with a nice amount of bounce to help the club interact with the sand, so we don't necessarily need to open the club face. So there is my setup to play this bunker shot. What I now need to do is think about actually what do I do through the swing. Well, in the backswing, I really want you to make sure that you're creating a nice 90-degree angle or an L shape with the club shaft in your lead arm. We need to engage these wrists because we need some speed down at the bottom. As I'm doing that, I'm trying to maintain my body shape. What I mean by that is I'm not trying to allow these hips to shift back. I'm trying to keep them in this forward position that we set at address, create that nice L shape. Then I really want to be focusing on hitting the sand before the ball. We know we should do that in the bunker, and moving the sand from the bunker onto the green. That's my focus, that's my intent. Notice that's not a focus on the ball, it's a focus on the sand. What that's going to do is it's going to hopefully allow me to appreciate the amount of speed that I need. It's also going to help me appreciate the type of release that I would need, because I'm trying to extract the sand out onto the green. If you can do that, if you can hit before the ball and use a style of swing which would move the sand out, I guarantee you the ball will come out as well. So let me show you what that would look like. There's that setup that we mentioned. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to create that L and splash the sand out. And that one's finished, a couple of feet away, perfect bunker shot. So level 1 is that. You don't need to start cranking open the face and thinking about swinging across the ball or anything particularly special. Just get yourself set up, hit the sand in the right place, have the right intent. And I think they agree that was a pretty good shot. Right, let's move on to shot number 2. So if you're thinking, yeah, that's fine, Chris, but I don't have any problems getting out the bunker, then shot number 2 might well be more for you. How we get more height, how we generate, you know, some more vertical lift. Great if you're up against the lip, not necessarily where I am here, but plenty of situations where you'll find yourself in like that. So I have still got my 56 degree, but if I really wanted maximum height, I'd go in for my 60 degrees. So point number 1, choose the most loft, but I'm going to show you how you can still do it with a club which is less lofted. So on this one, we're now going to be cranking that face open. We're going to be rotating it away from the target, and you can see just how much I've done that. It's a lot. It's kind of the leading edge, almost points to kind of 2 o'clock if I was thinking about a clock face, I should say, with 12 being up in front of me. Now, even though I'm going to have the face that open, I'm still not going to align myself left of target. I'm still going to align myself straight at the flag that you can see. This time, I'm going to take a slightly wider stance than I did before. Not massively much wider, but definitely a little bit more width between those feet, because I'm trying to get myself lower in the bunker. To do that, after I've taken that wider stance, I stand a little bit further from the ball, and I start to add a little bit of knee flex and feel like I push my hips a little bit closer to the ground. That allows me to get the handle down. The handle down does two things. Number one, it helps the ball go straighter. When I've got that face as open as I have there, it counteracts that. And it also helps me create a swing which is a little bit more rounded and less upright. A little bit more of a rounded swing helps me slide the club more underneath the ball, helps me generate that extra height. Ball is still forward, feet are still flared, weight is still forward. The main differences here would be how much that club face is open and the distance that I'm stood from the golf ball. Once I'm in that setup, the backswing doesn't really change too much, but on the way through, I really want to be feeling like the grip of the club, this part here, once it arrives at the ball, slows down, and I allow the club head to overtake super fast. But notice what I'm doing with my lead wrist. It's cupping, it's almost buckling. If you do this with an iron shot, pretty disastrous results, but in a bunker shot, it's great for height. It allows the loft to stay on the golf club, and the loft of the club is pointing back towards me. We don't want any rotation of that forearm, but you can see that points the club down. So it's very much a feeling of the trail hand throwing the club underneath the ball and past the hands. So you can see my lead arm almost in this rehearsal completely stops. That's going to give me that height. Now with height comes less distance. So I'm actually probably going to really struggle to get to the flag that's at the back of this screen. I'm going to show you the shot anyway. I'd expect this to finish a bit shorter, but just bear in mind that if you want the same distance, you really need to increase that speed. So let's have a go. There's the setup. See if we can hit that super high bunker shot. And pretty much what I expected. Launched a bit higher, landed a bit shorter. So if there was a huge lip or I had no green to work with, that would be a perfect shot to use. Right, let's move on to shot number 3. So this third shot, I think, is going to be really useful for you to have as an option. It's a shot which enables us to hit the ball lower and further. So often I see someone jumping into the bunker, taking a sand iron, playing a really nice splash shot that goes 15, 20 yards, but the flag was 30 yards away. The flag was at the back of the green and they're halfway. So how do you hit one further, lower, with a little bit more rollout? The first thing you do is choose a different club. That's a 9-iron. Just because it's a bunker, you don't have to go in for sand iron, lob wedge, one of your wedges. You've got a bag full of clubs, let's use them. Clearly, that 9-iron's got less loft and it's got a longer club shaft. Therefore, if I just played the same shot as I have done, I should get a different result. But there's a few things that we can do here to help us really get that ball further and rolling a bit more. Ideally, this shot here would go past the flag that's on the green that you can see there. So we're actually going to go very much like how we played that first shot. Ball forward, weight forward, but obviously I've got a 9-iron. I'm going to go down the hand a little bit. I want to have a little bit more control and feel like I take a little bit of length off the golf club. It's the loft that I really want here for the 9-iron, not necessarily the length of the club. So a little bit down the handle, and I'm going to open the club face a fraction. The reason I'm opening the club face a fraction is because there's not as much bounce on a 9-iron. So I need to create a little bit by opening the face. It just pushes the trailing edge down a touch. Yes, it means I'm increasing the loft of my 9-iron, but only by a few degrees. So it might be somewhere between a pitching wedge and a 9. So I've got the face slightly open. I've got my hands down the grip. I'm going to take that setup that we mentioned before, ball forward, weight forward. And this time, I'm going to make this nice kind of 90-degree angle here. But I, on the way through, really want to feel like I'm rotating my chest through. And I want to feel like I'm getting the club to be as far away from me on the follow through as I can. Remember that second shot where we were trying to make this move? Great for height, not great for distance. So if we make a nice positive turn through, get that club extended, still focusing on hitting the sand before the ball and moving the sand out of the bunker. But the key thing is we've got a 9-iron. So we should see lower flight, more distance. Let's have a go. Ideally, this would go past that flag, more up towards the back of the green. And that was kind of perfect. You can see the lower ball flight. It did exactly what I intended it to do. It kind of landed a bit further and then had a little bit more rollout. So if the flag was 25, 30 yards back of the green, 9-iron, that technique would be a perfect option. So 3 bunker shots are going to help you get closer, get up and down more often, up your bunker game. It's going to definitely help you lower those scores.